Standing by. The Terry and Ted podcast is sponsored by Jaguar Land Rover Laval. Get out of the big city and experience a construction zone-free test drive. There is such a thing.
Good day to you, Ted Bird.
And good day to you as well, sir.
It seems that we're doing another edition of the podcast.
They haven't thrown us out yet?
No, they have not thrown us out yet.
We'll talk until they do.
What really impressed me, and I was quite pleased about, was all the sponsors said, yes, of course, we would love to do another round of podcasts with you.
Every sponsor has come back, and even a new one came on board as well.
Yes.
We'd like to thank our title sponsor, Jaguar Land Rover Laval, jaguarlaval.ca, landroverlaval.ca. These are exciting times for them, let me tell you. They have started to take delivery of the new Range Rover. There's a new generation of Range Rover. Do you think that's a nice vehicle?
Oh!
Do you know what Adrian from Jaguar Land Rover Laval told me? She said to me, you don't know whether you want to drive it or be a passenger. Wow. Because if you're driving it, you don't get a chance to sort of just sit back and go, holy shit, look at all this. And they're taking orders for the Range Rover Sport, which comes in a hybrid model as well, part electric, part still internal combustion engine. Only 434 horsepower.
Oh,
that's all you get.
Yeah,
that's putt.
The QPF love that.
Yeah. And get a load of these apples. You know what's coming next year from Land Rover is the Defender 130, which is an 8-seater. Seats 8 comfortably.
Wow. You know what? This is one of the things that I love about a Land Rover is the combination of the quality of the car and the luxury of the car with the power of the
performance
of it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Land Rover really is it's when it comes to off-road, on-road, that combination with luxury performance, you can't beat them. You can't beat them. And Adrian told me that people were going, well, we want a Range Rover that seats 8 people, and she was like, no, that's not what they make the Range Rover for. Yes. That's the ultimate 5 people SUV. So what they did was they took the Defender. We had one of those as a courtesy vehicle last year. It's like a luxury tank. And they've made a new model, the 130. They've extended that and put in the third row, and that comes in 2023, and it's going to be spectacular. It'll compete with Cadillac Escalade, the Suburban, the Expedition, trucks like that, only it's a Land Rover.
Yeah, and you can go up and see them without the problem of orange signs, orange cones. Go up to Laval and ask for a cup of tea.
And no pretense whatsoever.
Yeah, great family.
They're good folks. Yeah. Landrover.ca, Jaguar.ca. Sorry, Murr, we were ignoring you there. You all right? What am I, fog?
Is that beast out front?
No, that's a Jaguar. That's a Jaguar F-Pace.
Oh.
That's the courtesy vehicle
that's
they gave us this time.
I want to.
Yep, that's a dandy. Yep. I think you're going to have to get a little closer, Murr. Even with that,
move up on that mic a little bit. What are you, new?
I'm a professional.
These golden pipes of yours that you've been dragging across the airwaves for so many years. Yeah, it's really weird. We start the podcast with our guest sitting there like we don't know he or she is there.
Yeah, but Murr's used to that.
Yeah,
ignoring middle name.
Yes. Murray Sherriffs is our very special guest. Murray, I was thrilled when I heard that you had agreed to come and do the podcast. How are you? I haven't seen you since my wife surprised you. Remember that day?
I do, at McKibben's.
Remember that day?
Yeah, in Vaudreuil.
My wife, Jessica Dion, and Murray have been friends for quite some time. Yep. And Jess said to Murr, would you like to meet my new man?
And I didn't know because I had already met another guy. Yes, I know, Terry, you weren't the first.
That's right.
And she walked in, and there I was sitting with Bonnie. And I went, so where is he? Well, he's just parking the car. I said, got him trained already. Good for you. And then Terry walks in. I'm going,
Terry, what is her?
Yeah, isn't this odd? Terry and then all of a sudden,
click.
the thing clicks in, holy gee, it's Terry and Jess. And that was a good afternoon.
Yeah, it was a lovely afternoon. Yeah. My wife still talks about it and sends her best, Murr.
Thank you.
Really lovely.
Sweet woman.
Thank you very much.
You have landed well.
Yes, I've punched above my weight, as they say. Yeah. Murray, I don't even know where to start because there's so many stories that we could tell. Murray Sherriffs, in case you don't know, is a longtime broadcaster. and a heck of a newscaster, and had a real marquee job with, was it Aaron and Tasso at the time?
Yeah.
And also worked for the legendary Gord Sinclair.
CJAD.
At CJAD, and probably has a number of stories to tell.
You know what, Ter? Here's where we should start. And I was thinking about this on the way here today. Mur, do you remember when and where you went on the air for the very first time?
Medicine Hat, Alberta. Chat in the Hat.
Chat in the Hat.
CHAT. And we'd like you to be a jock. And I said, okay.
Okay.
So, and then the ratings came out one period, and all the jocks were getting fired.
Oh.
And the news guys weren't. And I thought, screw this.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a news guy. I need a job. I got a baby, and oh my God. Yeah,
So you remember the first time you turned on the mic and went on the air? Yeah. And it was as a disc jockey.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I got the signal to go. Hi. What happened to my voice? Holy crap. Off the air, I was fine.
So, but you were about 3 octaves up, were you?
She's nervous as crap. Yeah.
What kind of music were you playing in the hat?
Whatever they said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes we got to choose our own. Remember those
Well,
days?
listen, you know what? I'll bet you it was like CFCY in Charlottetown where I started, where it was top 40 during one part of the day, and it was country during another part of the day, and it was rock and roll at night. They changed formats of the radio station depending on what time of the day it was.
And I lived in Alberta also, but you lived in Alberta when Alberta, there was nobody there back then, was there, Mur?
Exactly.
Especially in Medicine Hat.
Medicine Hat, 25,000 people.
Right.
Red Deer just up the road.
Wow.
Lethbridge, about 100 and some odd K away.
If you've driven across the country, you know the Hat well because it's where you have to pull over.
Yeah.
Hey? It's like, we just got to get to Medicine Hat and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah,
And that's where you crash for the night. You can't quite make it to Calgary.
3 hours away.
Yeah.
And then once you got Calgary and the mountains. Well, you were Calgary for how many years?
I 4 years I was out,
right?
out in Alberta. But I was there, a little bit later on. You were there like before the boom and everything, weren't you?
Exactly. Well, you could buy a home for $1.
God, yes.
Because the interest rates, 23%.
Yeah.
And people couldn't afford it anymore. So if you wanted a home, and Bonnie and I were thinking, gee, $1. Yeah, but we also got to pay to heat the thing. We got to pay for it every month. So, and we
wasn't this the days of the National Energy Program?
It was.
And Trudeau was still a bad word out there from the 1980s.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, I mean, I was living in, I was a kid back then, but from what I understand, people were literally leaving the keys on the kitchen table and driving away.
Exactly that.
Because they just couldn't afford it.
Wow.
The whole economy collapsed.
And beautiful homes.
Yeah.
Up in the northwest sector and the southwest sector.
Yeah.
And,
if you only knew then how does that go?
Yeah.
If you knew then what you
Then what I know now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mur, without dating you and putting a year on it, how many years have you been on the radio? Have you been 50 years?
Just shy.
Yeah.
49, 48.
Jeez.
So,
Isn't that something, eh?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, to last in this, how many people have you seen come and go in radio? A lot more than you see come and stay. Most people put in 2 or 3 years and go, fuck this, I'm doing something else.
Oh, we can say, fuck, this is the best radio ever.
And also, especially today, with the state of the business today, a lot of people get in and go, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, Mur is a survivor.
Yeah. So from Medicine Hat, how long did you, were you back selling records, Mur, before you went to somebody and said, hey, I want to read the news?
Yeah, I was 6 months.
6 months.
6 months.
Right.
And Tom, I lost the name. Anyway, Tom said, yeah, sure. No
Really?
problem. You want to do news? Okay, do news.
So what shift did you get? They put you on weekends, or did you become an anchor right away? Or?
I was anchoring. I also did the courts, city courts, when you had to appear for your drunk driving charge and all that stuff. So
you go down to the courthouse and cover that?
Oh, yeah. And people coming up to you, is it possible you don't use my name on the air?
Really?
No, I'm a reporter. I can, I'll flatten the tires in your car if you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I learned not to be a journalist.
Take
right
those
there.
windows right out with a baseball bat.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
It was
covered that.
Whole different way of handling things in the hat.
Oh, boy.
Eh?
Mayor Harry Viner was the mayor at the time.
Wow.
And he was a legend. He was a legend. Pierre Trudeau came to town one day. That was the first time I interviewed the prime minister. That was Heartbeat City, man.
Nervous? Was he nice to you?
Yeah, he was. Oh, yeah.
Was he?
A saint. You know what I learned from him?
What?
Don't ever use the terminology, well, everybody knows. Because he said one time, a reporter was asking him questions, and he said, well, everybody knows it's a situation. And he, well, wait a minute now. Not everybody knows. Justin, my son, he's 2, right over there. He doesn't know. Sasha, you don't know either, do you? Sasha was 6 months, and I went, I'll never use the term everybody knows again.
That's not a bad Pierre Trudeau
That's
imitation,
a very good
Mur. That's
Pierre
good.
Trudeau.
Yeah, you've got you got the pacing and the diction down.
Yeah.
There. Very nice.
Oh, thank you very much.
Did you stay at the Hat long? Did you go from the Hat to Calgary, Mur?
No, I went from the Hat to Peterborough.
To Peterborough.
Oh, yeah,
One
Peterborough.
big town after another.
Yes, sir.
Murray's career has been, the early part of your career, it's like WKRP, town to town, up and down the dial,
Yeah,
eh,
exactly.
Mur?
Yeah. And when I got to Peterborough, I was making, I don't know how I ended up in Peterborough making less money. You're supposed to make more money when you make
You would think, yeah.
So I went to the general manager and I said, I'm just not making it. You know, this $300 a month is killing me. Well, you know what? We think you're a pretty big talent. And in your next paycheck, because you'll be here 3 months, it'll reflect our feeling about you. $1.37 a week. That was the raise.
That was your raise?
Holy crap. I thought, well.
Did you go to a lot of people went to places like Peterborough and Barrie to get closer to Toronto. Was that part of it?
No, I went back to Medicine Hat.
Oh.
Yeah, because I knew that was safe, yeah.
Wow.
And then I went to Kitchener.
Okay.
Kitchener Water Use, CKKW. That was so cool. I remember interviewing a blind guy one time. He was the head of the CNIB.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire interview, I said, oh, I see. I see. Jeez, afterward, you know. Not cool. So
You learn a lot in the early days.
Oh,
eh, Mur?
yeah.
You get home and go, oh, Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah. So we've got Medicine Hat, Peterborough, back to Medicine Hat.
Do you remember all the moves,
Do you remember?
Mur?
Oh, yeah. Kitchener,
Kitchener.
CKKW.
And then from there,
Victoria, BC.
Victoria.
The best time in my life. 2
Moving
hours.
companies must have loved
Oh,
you.
they love. Oh no, the radio stations were paying. Remember those days?
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
eh?
those days are long gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait till you hear what he did, though, Tara. You've told me this story,
God,
Mur.
yeah.
So tell you, Victoria, your eyes lit up. Tell me about Victoria.
Oh man, have you been?
Yes.
Have you been to the Dutch Latch?
No.
Oh,
What's the Dutch Latch?
Best tea ever.
Oh, quite.
You go on your
Yes.
way. You're on your way to Nanaimo.
Okay.
You take the cross highway.
Yeah.
And the Dutch Latch is on the right as you
Okay.
get to the top of the mountain.
Wow.
Really?
Really?
What a beauty. I left my heart there. If I could,
Yeah.
I would.
Back to Victoria?
Oh, in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful. Well, you're at
Well,
BC,
yeah,
so-
British Columbia is, if you've never been, you got to go see it.
Have you got mountains all around you?
You're goddamn right we do.
Jesus,
yeah,
eh?
every morning we look at them and go, get a load of that.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go skiing. No, maybe
Yeah.
I won't. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll go salmon fishing
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we'll golf in the morning and ski in the
There
afternoon.
you go. Hey, oh,
See,
man.
yeah.
It really is
Yeah.
paradise.
And oddly enough, nobody talks about language out there.
really?
Yeah,
eh?
yeah. So that's
Really?
that's a nice thing. How long were you in Victoria, Mur?
2 years.
2 years.
And then I said,
What was it? Was it CFAX?
No, CJVI.
CJVI.
Yeah,
Okay.
CFAX was our main competitor.
Alrighty.
Yeah. And then I got a hankering for bigger and better things.
Yes, sir.
And Edmonton called.
Oh boy.
And you know when they called? Middle of February. Jesus H. Christ. So I grabbed my family in the middle of winter, drove
Wow.
across the Rockies, and I can to this day see the snow blowing on the wind on the highway
Yeah.
as I drove into Edmonton.
Yeah.
From 65 Fahrenheit to minus 24 in
Nice.
2 days.
And I think that was before the Coquihalla Highway was built.
oh, yeah.
Eh?
Oh, yeah.
So you had the long way around on number 3.
Yep.
And the closer you get to Edmonton, the more the winter laughs at you.
God almighty. Was that who was laughing? Because I was wondering, man.
And what did Mrs. Sheriff say when you got there?
Not a thing. Boy, I could feel that burrowing into the side of my ear.
Speaking of a cold wind.
Yeah. Lasted 2 years there.
Is that right, eh?
I have to tell you, I was in Churchill, so that was pretty bad. But
Jeez.
Edmonton, God, yes.
I know.
In the winter, It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, I can't, you think, I remember when I was in Manitoba and I hadn't experienced a winter in Winnipeg, and and I said to them, oh my God, the summer here is so beautiful. And they said, wait till the winter comes. And I said, oh, I'm from Montreal. I know all about the winter. And they said, oh, no, you don't. And that's what Edmonton is like.
Yeah.
Like, there's something about minus 41 that you can't describe.
And it's a dry cold.
Yeah.
And I thought, freezing my balls off here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's a dry cold, and your nostrils freeze closed, and your eyebrows are all full of icicles.
And there's no Chinooks.
And there's no Chinooks in Edmonton.
In Calgary they do, but boy, up there, no.
So was it the weather that chased you out of Edmonton?
Yeah, and the isolation.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was so...
Yeah.
It's happening. Where is it happening? Montreal. It's happening down south, not here.
So, were you Ched?
No, CJCA.
Okay, I keep getting the stations wrong. Jeez.
Yeah.
That's all right. You'll get one right.
Okay, all right. So off...
CJD.
Okay.
Q92.
So, off from Edmonton? I've had enough of the winter, or where do we go now?
Got a call from Bill Roberts, who was news director at CKGM.
Yep.
Want to do news? Yeah. Okay, want to be my right-handed man? Sure. Boom, Montreal.
Wow.
So is that when you and I were working side by each, Murray? When I was doing the morning news at Showman, you were at CKGM. Exactly. That's when we used to go over and see Jeanette and take our French lessons.
That's right. Remember those days?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, Jeanette really... Well, she had success with you. Oh,
je sais pas. Mon français est toujours une catastrophe, honesty.
I just knew it was a great time to be with you and hanging. So
we had some fun, didn't we?
Well, CKGM was a powerhouse back then.
Yeah, it was. With Ralphie.
With Ralphie in the morning, and that was a...
But this was a little bit after that, though, Murr. If this was the same era that I'm thinking of, late 80s, this is what Gary James was doing the morning show, and Mark Hollywood was on there, and it was these guys were gone unless you had a run at CKGM in the early 80s. Did you?
Did, yeah.
Oh, okay, then that was before you and I.
Do you remember Mitch
together?
Snaden?
Yeah.
Mitch had that guy walk in with the gun.
That's right. Yeah.
Holy
crap. You were there then.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you on the air when that happened?
I was not. No.
Yeah, that was 1981 or 82. I was in Toronto. I remember that happening because I remember saying, "Jesus Christ, I worked at that radio station." Tell that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. The story of Mitch is on the air, and this guy was calling him up consistently, saying, "I want whatever I wanted, and I can do that, but I don't think I can do that right now. If you don't do that, I'm going to come down with a gun and you'll do it then." So Mitch went into the general manager and said, "This guy just said he was going to come down here with a gun." And I think it was within minutes, the guy was at the door with the handgun.
Jesus.
And he was, I think he
fired a shot.
Yeah,
I think he put a fucking bullet in the wall.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I think Mitch shit himself.
I was going to say that calls for a diaper.
Holy jeez, eh?
Wow.
And the cops did come.
Yeah.
They took him down. He stayed barricaded, if you like, for a couple of minutes anyway.
Wow!
But then they brought in the heavy weights, and it was
brought in the SWAT team.
Yeah, I think it was just below the SWAT. You know
okay.
What I mean?
Yeah.
But they brought in some big boys and took care of business right there. And I don't know what happened to him. I never followed that up, but boy, I tell you, that scared the crap right out of you.
Yeah, you're right. Someone showing up with a gun anywhere.
Yeah, I'm stunned by that because I know that building and I think about how terrifying that must have been.
Oh, jeez.
Must have been unbelievable.
Tiny, narrow little hallways and nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So was that the beginning of the Montreal run, Murr? Because
back and forth.
Where did you go after that, Murr? Did you leave town again before you came back?
Well, I was forced to leave town.
Okay.
I had a program director that said, you'll never
get out of town.
You'll never work this town again.
Oh, Christ. Who said that?
You want to know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ralph Lucas.
Is that right, eh?
Yeah.
And I said...
what'd you do to piss him off, Murr?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think I might have had an attitude toward management. And I moved around a lot in Montreal. But if you can do the job better than I, please have at her.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's ego talking here. But if I can do the job, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Right? Just leave me alone. I'll get this done.
Awful hard for some radio managers to leave you alone, though.
Jesus. As you guys can really attest to. You and I have one in our background.
Yes, sir.
You know what?
Yep.
If I had a baseball bat, but let's move on. Another violent man.
We're past it now, though, aren't we, Mur?
No.
Mur, did you ever work the days of 2020 news? There was a 5. Well, you do it better than I do.
Although those guys in Windsor used to do it. CKLW was notorious for it. And we did it a little bit at CFTR in Toronto. And I remember Larry Silver used to do it at CFTR. And Metro Police are investigating a sexual assault in the Don Valley. The perpetrator dragged the little muffin into the ravine, did the dirty deed, and hit the dark and dusty. CFTR News Time, 2:35.
That was an actual thing.
Yeah, they would do that.
Radio.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
radio
yeah.
news.
Wow, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, not these days.
You never.
CKGM kind of went that way.
Did it?
But no, the most edgy, I guess, was the Q92 with Aaron.
Yeah.
And Tasso. That was
Because you could do
the
what you want,
funnest.
eh?
Yep.
When
I tell you.
you were able to interpret the news, weren't you?
Exactly.
Well, you did commentaries over
Yes.
there, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. And I remember Ted Silver, who was boss of Ted and I now at Light 106.7.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Oh, Murray, you have no idea what I kept off your table."
Yeah.
I said, "Like
bet.
what?"
Yeah.
"Oh, you have no idea." And I said, "Really?" Because if it wasn't for him,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have never have happened. You know?
Yeah.
Aaron
So he
obviously
was the buffer.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he allowed it.
Yeah.
You know, PDs, they get scared and they go, "I'm going to have to go before the CAB again," and no. He just allowed it, and more power to him.
Well, and it created one of the great radio brands in Montreal radio history.
I think so.
You know,
I
Aaron
think
and Tasso and you. It was a giant pain in our ass because that's what we were competing against, and you guys were giants.
And this was what, early 2000s?
I think
or
so.
even
Yeah.
in the 90s.
I'm not good with dates, I must
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
But the stuff you were doing, you could never do today, I'm guessing.
No, the corporations would slam that down so fast.
Yeah.
I remember a PD said to me one time, "How long, if you were starting in the business now, how long do you think you'd last? How long would the career be?" I said, "Well, hopefully 30, 40 years."
Yeah.
Nah, 5.
Yeah.
I said, "Whoa." Yeah, because you know why? Eventually, you'll figure us out. And we've already figured you out. And there is no more money anyway.
You know what? My favorite part of that story is the condescension. That's nice, eh?
Yeah.
Hey, that condescending.
Yeah.
And you want to say you're really quite full of yourself, aren't you? Eh? You really think you got this game figured out, don't you?
Yeah.
From your corner office, you've never been on the radio.
Yeah, it's true, eh?
Yeah.
But you guys were above where normal broadcasters were.
Well-
let me do this. You guys were up there. Come on. Right?
Well, we had a good run.
you had a very good run.
We had a very good run,
You were
and
making the dollars.
And yes, and I have to admit, I was often an uncooperative employee.
You have that rep.
Yeah,
I remember you having that rep.
Yes,
and I thought,
I had a lot of screaming matches
yes.
with the kind of people you're describing.
Yeah.
And as a close observer, I would say that's because Terry is passionate about what he does and believes strongly in how it should be done.
Well said.
It's not because he was a prima donna and it's got to be my way or the highway. It's because he cared.
Yeah.
No, and I didn't, much like you, Mur, I didn't like to be bullied, right? I was confident in what I was doing. We were delivering saleable ratings, and the station was making money, and people seemed to like what we do.
Yeah.
Leave us alone.
Exactly. that.
Let us fly the plane. I promise you we will land it in the morning. Like it just, but there, as you point out, there are a lot of people in the game who just couldn't let that go.
Yep.
They needed to be the boss.
Their
They
ego.
They needed to interfere.
You'll be a success.
Yeah.
When I say
And I was Ted will attest to this. If you had something that was a proper, constructive, decent criticism.
Yeah.
Hey, I heard you do this. You might want to try it this way. Yep. I'd say, oh, you know what? Thanks. I didn't think about that. But if you kicked the door in and said, oh, you're gonna da-da-da, and I would say, get the fuck out of my control room.
I remember really, I was sitting in the newsroom, the broadcast room of, what was it, Mix 96, it was called CGFM at the time.
Yeah.
And they had tiles, lowered tiles, right?
Yeah.
And I had the experience of having Terry get mad. And
Well, it's only once, Murray.
it was only once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That was the only time the tiles actually moved.
Holy crap. 2 of the tiles actually lifted and moved over. So wow. And that was all because of a door slam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not proud of that.
I think he should be because he deserved it. He deserved a whole lot more, like being tossed through that goddamn window. How about that?
Murray's not a
I'm
fan.
sorry.
No, not a bit.
No,
Not one
you
bit.
know what? And that was a case of that was I was being bullied, and I was standing up for myself. That other people, the other side would disagree with that, but I was being bullied, and I wasn't having it.
Yep.
I just wasn't having it.
Now,
Sorry.
wasn't that a case of you eventually having a meeting with this bozo, and in your back pocket, did you not have an offer from?
Eventually, yeah.
That is so
Yeah.
cool.
It was what he thought was a signed contract that he tried to engineer and maneuver.
Yeah.
He thought he had pressured Ted and I to sign it, and what it was my resignation. Bit of a surprise that day. So, but those days are long gone.
Yep.
Because first of all, there aren't the caliber of people like that around, and I think it was just a different era. You worked in the era, we worked in the era of. I was just telling a young broadcaster this last week that she's working in an era of not giants, but we worked in an era of giants.
Yeah.
Right, Harvey Kirk, Gord Sinclair Jr. and Senior,
Paul Reed,
George Balkin, Bill Roberts,
Yep.
Wally Crowder. These guys were craft-driven broadcasters, and as I'm sure you've got a lot of Gord Sinclair stories to tell.
Yeah.
Because Gord was, for all of his faults, he was a hardcore news guy.
Yeah.
And God help you if you read the same newscast if you read the news at 2:00 that you read at 1:00, you were in a lot of trouble.
Yes, you were.
And I think of him every day because now when you listen to the goddamn radio, it's the same rip and read newscast from noon to 6.
Complete with mispronunciations
Yeah.
that you heard an hour ago.
Yes.
I mean, God.
Yes. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
And today's broadcasters, I remember Ted said about you that today you had said, these broadcasters, they go 1.5 years in the business. They could learn so much from me. And this is not ego on your part talking. They could learn so much from me and they couldn't care less.
Well, no, there's a lot of, there's some young broadcasters have asked me a question or two.
Oh, they have?
Not many of them. No.
Yeah.
Not, there was years where Ted and I were working in a building that was, chock-a-block full of young people coming up, and nobody ever said to us, because that's what I did. Once I got in the building, I worked up the courage to say to George Balkin, "Would you like to have a coffee, Mr. Balkin?" Because he was one of the greats. He was one of the giants.
Yeah.
So to sit with him and have a chat with him and ask him some questions, to me, that was like university.
Mine was Dick Varney.
I remember Dick Varney, sure, yeah.
Another giant.
And Jack Finnegan.
Yes.
And, oh, my God, these guys. And I remember I was 17 years old.
Wow.
And I'd like you to meet Paul Reed. Oh, holy shit, really? Well, it was,
Well, like you say, we were lucky to have those giants to learn from, and it seems to me, and I know I'm going to sound like a crusty, crabby old-timer, and maybe I am, but, Terry talks about, or you mentioned Murray, some people get 1.5 years in the business and they think they know it all. And I think it was Harry Truman who said the best lessons or the most important lessons you learn in life are the things you learn after you know it all.
You've said that before. That's a beautiful line, eh? That is really true.
There's been a fire in Godonique.
That's funny. That's good. Napawnee. Napawnee, Ontario.
There you go. There's
yeah.
another one. What our favorite is, and this comes from was a young kid years ago. I think I was driving through Kenora.
Brandon,
thank you. In Brandon, Manitoba, just outside of Winnipeg, about an hour outside of Winnipeg. along number 1 highway, and it was those days, and you know this, Murr, if you're driving across the country back in the 70s and 80s, every time you drove into a town, you'd get a new flavor of that town from the radio station.
Yeah.
So you would listen to the small radio station and the people on the radio stations, and I was driving through Brandon, and the young broadcaster was reading a story about WW11.
No.
Yeah, you want to pre-read that copy, kids. Yeah. That was a bad. They call that rip and read. Why did they call that rip and read? Explain that.
Because you had in the old days teletypes, and exactly. And
on a roll of paper, the news would come up.
Oh, geez, I have dreams of having last night, a dream of having not cleared the wires, which every competent news director would give you shit.
Yeah. You got to keep those wires
clear. Not clearing the wires, how are you keeping up to date as to what's going on? Anyway, here's the teletype wires coming up with all these stories, and you just take it off, rip it off, and go on the air, and you'd read it. But sometimes you would read it, and geez, there's something, you got some punk that's in Toronto, and he's written it, and he hasn't read it over, if you like, and you're reading his mistakes.
Because they were news, I think it was broadcast news, they used to do the news synopsis.
Yeah.
Because when I was in Churchill, well, I wasn't a news guy, but I would have to rip that off, and you would, read it was usually national, provincial, and then you could add the local.
Yeah.
And you had to be very, very careful. And if something big happened, the bell rang.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Remember that?
right. That's right.
Teletype,
Yeah.
ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
ding, and you'd think, somebody's been killed or
Something's
there's been a
happened.
crash
Yeah.
or whatever. Those were the days of yore. Because honest to God, on the so-called news stations now,
they still have. I mean, BN is still there. Yep. I think it's a division of Canadian Press or whatever, and but you just access it through the computer now, and it's the same thing. They still have first news summary of the day, second news summary, third news summary, and there are still people who rip it and read it. And you know what I've noticed, Murr? They back when I was doing the news. The news was the news. It was the facts. It was here's what happened. Now when I read it, there's a spin on it. Even off the wire services. The wire services, and I blame the journalism schools for this. They're churning out not just journalists, but journalist activists. Mm-hmm. And they've all got this slant, and it usually leans to the left. And I'll admit it, get a haircut, get a real job, conservative, guilty as charged. Yep. But if I was writing the news, I wouldn't put my get a haircut, get a real job, conservative slant on it. I would just write the news. Here's what happened. Okay. And I hear some of the BN copy being read now, or I see it when on my computer, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you can't do that. That's not journalism.
Well, never mind the BN, the public broadcasters guilty.
Well,
of that
God,
also.
they're even worse.
Yeah. PBS, right?
Yeah.
Oh, CBC.
CBC. Yeah. Murray, did you were you a news junkie? Did you become a news junkie?
Very much so.
You were, eh?
Yeah, I was a high school dropout, and I ended up working at the Gazette as a copy boy.
Wow.
I can still hear Brody Snyder. Brody, copy! And Brody, you remember Brody.
Yes, of course.
He worked at CJAD for a while.
Yeah.
And boy, when he had an attitude, and he did every day.
Yeah.
Gentlest soul going, but boy, don't cross him. And he copied. Geez, I'd run like a fool. I don't think my feet ever touched the floor. Yes, Mr. Snyder, yes. Oh. He's going to kill me.
Well, didn't those guys? Didn't you think those guys held you to a higher standard?
Yeah.
I remember Sinclair. Gord always seemed to hold everybody in the newsroom to a higher standard. Mm-hmm. He only accepted a certain, and it was old school journalism. It's where did you get the story? What are the facts of that story?
Yeah.
And then where does that story go in your lineup? Like it was a craft.
And we need a new top on the story. And I never heard that expression before, but I did hear from Gord.
Explain that.
Explaining it was what it is you had an old story. You ran with it. The guy shot the guy, and. Why can you not freshen up the story somehow? You've got to freshen it up, otherwise it's the same old stuff. And
rather than saying the guy was shot, you say police now are looking at this particular angle of this incident yesterday. Yeah. You take a fresh angle on the same story.
I mean, the best words I ever heard about news came from a program director, and it was Ted Blackman. He said, "Don't ever forget, you're all in sales."
Wow,
So if
interesting.
you put a boring newscast on the air, they're clicking off and they're going to where the excitement is. Like, whoa.
I want to talk more about news and especially what you think of news today because you're a news junkie. But first, we're going to watch this, Mur.
Yeah.
We're going to do a commercial for you. Ready? An engineering well, it's not. Is it an engineering firm?
It's an engineering and engineering consulting firm.
Can you imagine?
No.
Those guys hired us to do a commercial for them.
Well, let me sit back and
What
enjoy
kind
this.
of
They're
knuckleheads
called
are we?
they're called Vozwin. Mur, do you need a new bridge?
Yeah.
Now, here's what Vozwin do. Sean Smith, who's the founder and president of Vozwin, got in touch with Terry and me and said, I think that your podcast would be a good vehicle for advertising my company. And we said, hello. And he said yes, because he said, I think that the demographic that you serve or that your audience is comprised of could probably use our product and service. What Vozwin does is they're an engineering and engineering consulting firm. If you have an idea, you have any ideas for inventions, Mur? You ever think
Throughout my life, yes.
If you went to Vozwin and said, here's my idea, then they'd go to work on design and implementation.
All right, can I give you an idea now?
Sure.
What do you got?
You know those stupid car seats that you put your child in?
Yeah.
And you nearly break your back, you twist in your muscles that do not deserve to be twisted that way. Right. And I've always said to myself, why don't they have a car seat that turns on the pedestal, put the child in it, and then you turn it back?
Then you would take that idea to Vozwin, and they would go to work on it.
Is that right?
And they would come up with the prototype.
They'd help you bring it to market.
And they'd help you bring it to market. Yeah. That's exactly what they do. Yeah. And they do it with industrial engineering. They do it with electrical engineering. They do software as well. If your idea is a computer oriented idea. And they've got some great slogans that Sean shared with us. He says, "Yeah, we're nerds, and we like working with other nerds." He says, "We're weirdos for weirdos."
I love it.
Yeah, out of the box thinking, design thinking. We are your product design partner. Don't spin your wheels. If you're looking for a win, call Vozwin.
There you go. Thank you, Sean, and pleased to welcome Vozwin to our team of sponsors for the Standing By podcast.
They're online at Vozwin.com. Go have a look.
Very cool.
Murray, what's your take on news today?
I like where they're going.
Okay.
I do. I really do. I disagree with Ted. I like the opinion.
Okay.
But then again, I made my bread and butter for a couple of years doing that.
Yep.
So
yeah, but you're a goddamn communist, though, Mur, so you would like... No, I'm just kidding.
No, as a matter of fact, I'm right with you.
Yeah, I know. You're more like me.
Oh,
but so that's interesting that you're not necessarily on board with me with my perception of the news.
Yeah, exactly. But I like. I remember being told you can't be emotional in the news. You can't bring your feelings into it. And then I covered a story about 3 young children being found in a fridge. They were playing hide and go seek, and I was like. And I remember them opening that fridge and seeing the babies.
Oh, God.
Holy shit. There's no way I'm going to go on the air and be an emotional news guy. You know, I'm going to put my emotion into it. And I lost it. When I was doing the story, I lost it. And it still gets to me now.
How long ago was that, Murray? You had kids of your own, obviously. Your boys were just young at that point?
Yeah. They were 4 and 2.
And
so that's them in the fridge.
Yeah. I think in that time, it was accidents like that pushed forward. You can't put a fridge out with a door on it anymore.
You better not.
Yeah, you're in a world of trouble.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that must have been powerful.
It was. Yeah. And ever since then, I thought, no, I'm going to be more human when I do the news. So and then it continued to progress, and I continued to add slant to it.
Well, you've become a personality newscaster.
Yes.
I think so,
and you are still to this day when you do the news on my show. And I like that. I like it when Mur does it because I like Mur.
Well,
but the rest of you, just tell me the fucking news and keep your opinion out of it.
Thanks, Ted. You're
But
fine.
wouldn't you agree, Ted? Murray made that a craft.
Yes,
right?
100%.
You became a master craftsman at that because it wasn't buffoonery and it wasn't comedy and it wasn't editorial. It was the news, as you say, delivered with some emotion and the odd elbow to the gut.
And it also
right?
was not agenda-driven in Murray's
And it
case
wasn't
either.
agenda-driven, exactly.
Cool. High praise, Terry. Thank you. That's very cool.
a real master craftsman at that, Mur. And we used to love to listen to it and enjoy. You know, Ted and I would often say, "Christ, you hear Murray this morning?"
How did you get away with
Jesus.
that?
My favorite, let me tell this story, Murray. My favorite Murray story was, and this has got to be 25 years ago. Murray was doing the afternoon news on CJD, and there was a winter storm coming. And so Murray's talking about the winter storm on the news or on the weather, and he says, this was at lunchtime. He said, the storm's in Ottawa, passing through Ottawa right now, should hit Montreal about 5 o'clock this afternoon. And the host of the show that was on the air at the time says, but Murray, it's only an hour and a half from here to Ottawa.
Remember that?
And Murr says, well, the storm ain't coming in on the bus.
You're the best.
How long did that go on, that run with Aaron and Tasso?
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
2.5 years. It seemed like it was longer than that.
Yeah. But then I got a call from Rob Braid, and we went down to Magnon's, and so here's what I got for you. And I have never been in the sphere that you've been in and you've been in ever. So this was the first time I've ever had beaucoup dollars thrown at me.
Yeah, courted. You were courted.
Yeah,
Holy
and you're like
crap.
25 or 30 years in the business at that point, too.
Yeah. I was just a news guy. Got to work 8 hours a day, and you're lucky you got a job, and. I was like, oh, God. So now this is happening. But then Rob said, the offer is alive now, and whether or not you say yes or no, it's dead at the end of this lunch.
Jesus.
Call this.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, that's
Because I don't know what that means, right? I've never had it happen before.
Yeah.
He says, well, what it is you either take what I got, you don't go back to Q and say, hey, I just got an offer. Can you match it? That kind of thing. And back and forth. And so I said, oh, God, look at all this money. Okay, I'll say yes. So anyway, I
So, and that became Kat, Lisa, and the Sheriff. Have I got that right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, you and Kat Spencer and Lisa. What was Lisa's last name? Lisa,
I don't know.
excellent pressure from Mr. Braid.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Nicely-
Well, that's Rob. That
nicely
story's
played.
got. That story's got. I've sat across that table from Rob Braid, and that's the way that's the way Rob does
He
it.
said something one time when I went in there to bitch about the program director that he foisted on me. And he said, well, Murph, I guess there's a reason why you're sitting on that side of the table and I'm sitting on this side. I said, what does that mean?
Yeah. He also used to like to say, Santa's lap is getting sore.
Yeah.
We all worked for Rob, and you know what? He
And we
treated
loved
us
him.
all well. Yeah.
He hired me. Rob Braid is a man that was quite instrumental in Montreal radio for many years. And he hired me in 1984, and I hadn't done not 1 minute of morning radio. And he put me in the chair at Shom in 1984 and said, you know what, I think you're going to grow into this role. This is going to be fun. Let's give it a whirl. And I will be forever grateful to you.
Montrealers are thanking Rob Braid right now, boy.
Thank you, Mur. We should thank our friends at the place with the thing.
You want to?
This is a new thing, Mur. After 60, eh? You know the guy with the thing. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about lying down and having a nap, or do you want to talk about taking your car to get it fixed? What do you want to do?
I want to talk about the car thing.
Merson Automotive. Do you go to Merson, Mur? Or did you ever? Yeah.
I have been, yep.
Yeah.
They changed tires for me.
Yeah, Merson Auto on St. Jacques, west of Cavendish. They've been in business since, I believe that Ben Merson started the business in 1970, if I'm not mistaken.
It goes all the way back, if I'm not mistaken, Ted, to the 40s.
Is that right?
Yeah, the tire shop used to be just not too far from where they are now.
Well, it's 3 generations. There was Ben, and then there was Ben's son Mark, and now there's Mark's daughter, Kara, who runs Merson Automotive along with her husband, Celso, and the 2 sons, Cara and Celso are in the wings. Now, whether they're going to run the business, I don't know. They probably are, though. I think it's in the Merson family contract. I think when you're born into the family, you have to sign a contract that says, I'm going to run the business.
And that's what I love about it. In this age of corporate greed, and corporate greed is a runaway train, I love to deal with a family business.
Yep.
Because family businesses understand that your family has to eat too.
Yep.
And that's what I love about the Mersons. They're a family, and they understand how families need to, have a car to get to and from, skating practice, and it becomes an essential part of your daily and weekly and monthly routine. And not everybody has all kinds of money for repairs, and not all families understand what needs to be done. So it's nice to go into a place where they say, "No, your brakes are fine. You'll be okay." And your tires are fine until the fall. Come back and see us in the fall. You're not being gouged.
No, they're not going to sell you anything you don't need, and they're not going to do any service that you don't need, but they're going to tell you what you need and when you need it.
And that's how they built this reputation where, we talk about generations of Mersons. There are generations of Montrealers I've seen, customers come in who say, "Yeah, my father always brought the car here." It's really, if you've got a car and you want it properly maintained by honest people, this is the place.
Merson Automotive on St. Jacques, just west of Cavendish, online at mersonauto.com.
When did you retire, Mur?
When was I told to get out? I think
Sounds
I
familiar.
was 65.5.
Really?
And they said,
Time's up?
yeah, the PD, who, Leo Destrella, you remember him?
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah.
Leo said, I got to do it. I'm being pressured from up above. I got to do it. You're at that stage, you know what I mean? And he took me out to lunch. It was harder for him than for me to accept. And Leo was just a gentle soul about it. And he gave me all kinds of gossip that he couldn't have done it by PD.
Right.
It was so cool. And then that was it, you know what I mean? So
how did you feel about that, Mur? Do you miss it?
I miss
Because
the
I know
work.
you do it with Ted, but
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I miss the work. I don't miss the business.
okay.
The business, I saw what it became with the corporations, and I thought, holy crap.
Yeah.
Am I ever glad I don't have to listen to babies telling me how to do my gig?
Yeah.
You know? But no, I the job itself, the actual work, the performing, all of that, I miss that part.
I don't have any more fun since I worked with you. I had a lot of fun working on K103, but boy, do I have fun with Mur when Mur's on doing the news.
Thanks, man. That's cool.
Yeah, we have a blast.
And how does it work? Like you don't live you don't live far from Hudson, but it's
post-pandemic, during the pandemic, and now post-pandemic, when Mur's on, he's on from his house. He does the news from his house, and I'm in the studio. Yeah. So it's always better to be, this. It's always better to be across the table from each other or across the desk from each other, but it still works pretty good.
I think so.
It's not as good, but it still works pretty good.
So it's like an every once in a while gig that keeps you connected to
there's
it.
holidays that
yeah, if whoever's doing the news, like we're sort of in limbo right now. We're looking for a new full-time co-host.
Right.
So Chris LeBlanc's in there right now, and if Chris you have to go away.
Sorry.
If Chris goes away or needs to take some time off, or Chris does everything at the radio station, so sometimes he's got to do something else. Yeah, right. And so Mur will fill in.
So that it is a joy, And it's the coolest job in the world. You're working from home.
Absolutely.
I don't have to drive all the way to Papineau.
Yeah.
Almost in New Brunswick.
Didn't you do this in Ottawa for a while too?
Yes.
Hey, you were on the air in Ottawa,
At
weren't
Boom,
you?
yeah. Mark
Oh,
Dickey
that's right.
called
You and Pete.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Pete Marrier.
Mark Dickey called up and said, "Mur, how'd you like to do news in Ottawa? I'm a general manager up here." And I said, "Sure." And because you always say yes to anything that makes you there, right?
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, you don't want to move to Ottawa, so how about we set you up at home?"
Wow.
And I thought, I'm living my dream. I've been saying this for years.
Yeah.
Can I do this at home?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Murray. If we do it for you, we'll have to do it for all the broadcasters. Shut up. Just tell them no and let me do it. Anyway, it lasted 2.5 years. It was wonderful.
Wow.
Kind of hard to do the news for Ottawa, though, if you're in St. Lazare, no? Because you're not...
Not with the internet. The internet, boy, I could do the news in BC. You'd never know.
Really, eh?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. You could do the news in Australia if they'll take me. You never know because the internet's right there. It's like The news sources are there.
Well,
All you have to do
the
is-
other thing too now is I find the corporations that have bought all the legacy radio stations, they've given up on news.
Yeah.
It's just kids with the Google anyway.
Yes.
Right. Really, if you listen to the news hour, if you listen to the news packages on these radio stations, I don't think that's where people are going to get their news.
That's true. I remember a guy telling me when the corporation started taking over broadcasting in Canada. He said, "You know what's going to happen to broadcasting?" I said, "No." He says, "The big broadcasters are going to be slowly but surely farmed out. And eventually they'll get rid of all the talent, the corporations will.
Exactly
And
what
they'll
happened.
suck the business dry. They'll keep the ones that are still financially lucrative, and they'll toss the rest back to the private sector, and only then will creativity come back to radio." And boy,
It's
what a
kind of
call.
what's happening.
Oh, man.
It's kind of what's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the joys about working with Ted at Light 1006 is I'm sorry, I can't help myself. Because Ted said to me when we were doing the Saturday morning thing, I said 106.7, and he said,
No. You said 10. You said 106.7. You said it wrong
Yeah, I
anyway.
said it
So
wrong.
yeah.
And so he said, no, you have to say 106.7.
Yeah.
Right?
Light 106.7.
Light 106.7. So on Saturday morning, we have this fun little gig, and just for shits and giggles, I signed off
1006.
on tape. I said, thanks for listening to 1006.7. Just to give a little jab to the program director.
That's funny.
But that one of the things that I'm learning about the radio station in Hudson is it's one of the few family-run companies left.
Yep.
In the business, and it's not owned by a giant corporation who are, as you point out, picking the bones clean.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
you guys are allowed your creativity, which is evident.
Yeah, yeah,
2 weeks now that you guys have been on.
yeah. It's quite a
2
run.
Saturdays. Oh, man.
Boy, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get week 3.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Hey, here's something Murr did that I just respect the shit out of this, and I want to do this someday if I ever get my eyes fixed so I could actually see. He got his Class 1 driver's license. Murr's a big rig driver.
Wow.
He got 1,000 miles in 18 hours, got a double shift down southbound 35.
Boom. There you go.
He's a truck driving son of a gun.
I didn't
6
know this.
days on
Yep.
the road, and I'm going to make it home
Are,
tonight.
That's
are,
Murr.
are you still doing that, Murr?
Yeah, occasionally.
Yeah? Occasionally.
Yeah, very
you take a run
occasionally.
once in a while?
Every once in a while, and the reason I do that is because I can.
Yeah.
I got it in my back pocket. Always have a plan B.
Wow.
May I offer that advice to anybody who's in radio now? Always have a plan B, because
Yeah.
you never know when they're going to say, "Hey, get out."
And there's a lot of work for truck drivers right now,
Oh.
is there not?
My God,
Yeah?
there is.
Are these
Could you be working full time if you wanted to doing that?
I don't think so.
No?
No, because I remember those days when oh God, it's minus 20. Okay, I got to hook up to this trailer. Okay, I think I'm hooked up. How do you know? Well, you lock the back brakes on the trailer and you drive ahead. And if the trailer doesn't come with you in the snow, then you know you're in trouble.
Jesus.
Well, one time I did that, and I thought I had that trailer all locked down. Oh, yeah. And I drove out, and I going, fuck out of my way. And all of a sudden, I hear this horrendous fucking crash.
Oh, my God.
And I look behind the trailer that I thought I hooked up to was about 100 feet back.
Oh, boy.
It had dropped off my trailer in the yard. Had that happened on the
Highway, yeah.
because the weight of the trailer
Yeah.
will make it stay with you.
Yeah.
But once you get rolling,
Yeah.
oh, Lord, Tundra and Jesus.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. That
Wow.
was,
So you say you couldn't do it full time because you couldn't do it, or the jobs aren't there? The jobs are there,
Oh,
are they
jobs
not?
are there.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I could do it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to.
Are
Yeah.
these long runs, Murr? Were these like, Toronto to Windsor or Montreal to Windsor? Or
Toronto, Ottawa,
Yeah.
and Big Red.
Okay.
Oh, Big Red was my baby. Oh, man.
What's Big Red?
Big red truck that had a sleeper cabin in the back.
What kind of truck, Murr?
Hello, girls. Peterborough.
Peterborough.
Big
Peterbilt.
Peterbilt.
Peterbilt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Peterborough.
Yeah. So you hooked up with the lot lizards, did you?
Oh, yeah.
You did not.
I
You're a
did
married
not.
man and you love your wife.
Yes, I do.
Now, do they really exist, lot
They-
lizards? These
they
are like
do.
truck driver groupies
I don't know what
who
you
hang
guys are
around.
talking about.
They're truck driver groupies who hang around truck stops, and when the trucks go and stop for the night, and the guys go to sleep in the back of their big rig, the lot lizards will come around looking for some loving.
And they come in, and you can tell them. I only know this from people telling me about other truckers because I've never seen them. I don't know what they look like. I don't know.
I bet they don't look too good.
Well,
that's my guess.
You might not be wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But apparently, they drop into your cabin in the back and they have a go at you.
Okay.
And then
already,
I bet they don't look as good as rock and roll groupies. Like, I'll bet you that, back in the day, Van Halen probably got better looking groupies than truck drivers get.
Radio groupies? Mm-hmm.
No, sir.
No.
Oh, you lying bastard.
No, I kid you not.
Is that right?
No, not a bit.
Have you never gone down that road?
Well, no, wait a minute now.
No.
Maybe once or twice, maybe.
Hey, you're old enough, Mert. Do you remember the TV show Cannonball?
I do.
I just that popped into my head.
Yeah.
Get your motor running.
Yeah.
Remember that? And it's
That's
like
very good.
Cannonball. Yeah, that was.
Who was it? William? Who was the actor?
Was it William? Was it Cannon?
William Conrad.
William Conrad,
who also did the Lone Ranger back in the day.
Really?
On
Eh?
radio.
William
Wow.
Big Fat Will. Oh, on the radio.
On the
Okay,
radio,
I was going to say I can't see him up on the Big Fat William Conrad up in the back. Hi-oh, Silver. Oh, Christ.
Jesus H. That's the nice part about radio, though. You get to interview people that were your childhood heroes. Yeah. And I interviewed Clayton Moore one time.
Did you really? Eh?
Yeah.
The Lone Ranger.
Wow.
Lone Ranger.
Was he wearing the mask?
He was not. I interviewed him by phone.
Okay.
And oh my God, that was just so exciting. I said, well, I can't wait to play this tape for my sons, Brad and Darren, Mr. Moore.
Wow.
And he said, Brad, Darren, this is the Lone Ranger.
Oh my God.
And I thought, yeah.
Wow. That must have been such a thrill.
That was the coolest thing going.
Yeah.
Who was your biggest interview?
Well, you know what, Murr? I was just about to ask you the same thing because after you talked about talking to Mr. Trudeau.
Yeah.
You know what? I've interviewed so many people. Mm-hmm. And I think the most nervous I ever was they asked me to ask the first question at a Robert Plant press conference.
Oh.
Robert Plant, and I remember thinking, oh, Jesus, Robert fucking Plant, Led Zeppelin, and I was the opening, I was throwing the opening pitch.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't want to embarrass myself. So I remember that one really, really well. And, there's been some other ones my time at CJD was able to interview, Mr. Mulroney, and there's
sure,
the feeling, the feeling of when you're standing in front of legendary Canadians like Pierre Trudeau, and I'm it doesn't matter what your politics are, he's a legendary Canadian figure,
and it's exciting,
and it is exciting,
beating a mile a minute. I remember in Edmonton, I was working the legislative beat, and President Carter came for a visit.
Wow.
And I thought, whoa, and he's as close.
Hi, Murray.
Yeah.
I'm Jimmy Carter.
You want a peanut? And he's as close as you and I were. Yeah. And I wasn't picking up anything on my mic. I could tell by my ewer. Remember the ewers?
Yes.
Oh, my God. They're tape machines, by the way, in case you don't know. And I was leaning over, and all of a sudden, I was totally out of breath. His Secret Service guy was having none of this reaching over him.
Yeah.
To get to the president and elbowed me in the solar plexus. Beautifully done. Yep. Nicely done. Down on my knees I go.
Wow.
What the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And that was what happened. I said, well.
The Secret Service, they don't fuck around.
They do not.
They've got
no second chances.
And that's
if you do that one more time, young man.
Yeah.
Terry, we keep forgetting to do the tweet sheet.
Oh, my gosh.
Tell us about Metla Bonner, and Poseidon's going to line up the tweet sheet.
Okay, we're going to get the tweet sheet going here. This is an important message. What the hell was I doing there? My friends at Metla Bonner, we were talking about family-run companies. Metla Bonner is, they're pretty big organization. There's a lot of stores all over the greater Montreal area, but they're family run and they're family owned, and they really, really care about what they're doing. They're sleep specialists, and they are passionate about sleep technology. It's a term I didn't even know existed, but it does. There's always new technologies in pillows, in mattresses. They have their own line of linens, and when you walk into a Matelas Bonheur store, you're going to be welcomed by kind, gentle, well-mannered people who are going to ask you a couple of questions and never, ever pressure you. Because I hate being followed around in a store, being pressured and upsold. I can't stand that.
Hear, hear.
And that's something that they don't do there. And what they've done as sponsors of the podcast is they have offered up a promo code. So you can use this promo code on anything in the store, whether it's regular price, whether it's sale priced, if it's online, if it's in store, it doesn't matter. There are two codes. One is TER, TER, 05, and the other one is TED 05.
That's me, Mur.
That's Ted over there. And you'll get 5% off anything you spend.
I could get a mattress with Terror
Yes,
and Ted.
Terror 05 and TED 05.
Yeah.
There
Get
you go.
over here, you
get that discount. That's Matelas Bonheur. You can find them at matelasbonheur.ca.
Mur, I don't have to tell you what the tweet sheet is because you work the morning show with me sometimes, but here's the fun part about the podcast tweet sheet. I get to use the ones that we can't use on the radio.
Oh, yeah? All right, let's go, baby.
So we've got a
here
few
we go.
we got a few lined up here. They're going to come up on the screen there.
Okay.
I got my glasses on.
Get your glasses on so you can see there, young fella. Let's see what we got here. These are funny tweets that I dig up that you can't that we can't use on the radio. Like this one from @Ron Nui. Prospector. I think I found gold. I'm not sure though. Guy who's about to coin the phrase fool's gold. You fucking imbecile. You unrelenting buffoon.
Good one.
I like unrelenting buffoon even more than fucking imbecile. That's funny.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, that's a good one. From @Home Halfway. Me regularly uses the same three things at home. Me packing for vacation. I wonder if I'll need 4 French horns or 5. That one's not dirty, but it's pretty funny. Yeah. Let's see what else
There's
we
a
got
lull.
here. Yeah, from @Eddie Ferrero. Me. I think I wasted a wish by getting that genie to make you talk. My dog. No one gives a shit what you think. Isn't that great?
Again, the joy of the podcast. Eh?
Yeah. Oh, we got some extras from Clue Haywood. This is my first rodeo. What kind of animal is that? Who's that guy in the barrel? What's up with the timer? What the fuck is going on here?
If you've ever been to the Stampede, that's a great
Is that right? Yeah. It's not my first. What is this? Your first rodeo? Yeah, as a matter of fact. Yeah. You want to do those last two, Poseidon? From @Bob Janky. If your town has yellow fire trucks, fuck you. I've seen those, yellow fire trucks.
Yeah, that's very funny.
Yeah. And from @Rob Delaney. Dildo I just found in my hotel's air vent tastes like lamb vindaloo.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. Oh, God.
He's got a show.
this?
Rob Delaney.
Oh, yeah. He's...
My ex-wife Danielle keeps saying to me, "You've got to watch Rob Delaney's show. You've got to watch," and I haven't yet. But he's one of the funniest guys on Twitter. That made me. I almost expired the first time I saw that.
He's an American actor who went to Britain and really made a name for himself.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. My favorite was my first rodeo. What the fuck is going on here? Because if you know what? You've lived in Calgary, didn't you, Mur?
Yep, 5
You ever been
years.
to Stampede?
Oh, yeah.
And when you first go to Stampede, that's your reaction. Like, what's with the barrels? What's happening? What the fuck is going on here?
And to this day, the
Christ.
chuck wagon races are my fave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Man.
Absolutely.
And if you go to the Calgary Stampede, don't sit in the stands.
No.
Where the stands are,
Yeah.
go to the extreme right,
Yeah.
get down right at the floor, if you like, right
Yes.
on the ground,
Yeah.
and watch those guys come around
Yeah.
the barrels. You've never had anything more exciting happen.
Is that right,
Take
eh?
your breath
Whoa,
away.
it is.
Really,
Absolutely take
you know,
your
you
breath
guys,
away.
you're describing that, and I'm thinking of my first time at Formula One, like that, except with horses and wagons.
Yeah.
It is, and you don't realize how remarkable the riders, the guys that perform in these rodeos are. They're athletes
Yeah.
of the highest order,
Yeah.
and The animals are, I know this has become a controversial thing, and don't write me a letter about it.
Good for you.
I love the Stampede, and I love that culture that they celebrate, and I love the fact they celebrate ranchers and people. I once got a tour of the Calgary Stampede when I first moved to Calgary, and I was taken back to where the horses are put. What I don't know what you do with a horse. Do you lodge it or
house it? Yeah.
House it? I forget what the phrase is, but I was welcomed back into the stable.
I think you put it away. You've been ridden hard and put away wet.
Well,
that's an expression for a horse.
Yeah. And
he was ridden hard and put away wet.
I thought it was for something else.
That's what I thought too, but it's a horse, Murray.
I was taken back to the area where the horses. And as we walked and got closer to the stables, the vet turned around and said to me, "Shh, quiet." And I said, "What did I say something?" He goes, "The horses are sleeping and they're not to be disturbed."
Jeez.
And the way those animals are cared for and looked after, the families that own them, they're members of their family. So for people who are talking about animals, that don't want to be in the rodeo, like you would know what a horse was thinking. I've never seen anything like it. And the owners that I met of these horses, the pride that they burst with when they talk about their animals. One guy said to me, he said, "No one eats before," I forget the name of the horse. It's the horses all eat first, and all. They're like members of the family. Yeah. So if you're wondering about animal welfare at the Calgary Stampede, I've seen it with my own eyes.
I got two stories from the Calgary Stampede, if I may.
Please.
First, the President's Club. They invite you over, and they reveal the agenda for the next week, 2 weeks, right? And they serve you steaks. And how would you like your steak? Medium rare, please. Medium rare comes along, and I reached for the knife and the fork, and he said, "You won't need that knife." Yeah. And I went, No. And I didn't.
Nope.
Really?
Holy crap. What a steak.
Yeah, they're very, very proud of their beef in Alberta.
Wow, they should be.
And they should be, yeah.
Other story I got for you. Oh, God, Murray, you idiot. The Calgary, not the Stampede. It's a convention, not a convention center. Oh, jeez, where they have plays and everything. Anyway,
the something center, that place with the thing.
Yeah,
the theater.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's that.
Yeah.
So they gave us a tour. Here's your hard hat. Take you around. You're going to do the tour, and then you're going to come back. And when you walk into the room where we have a little luncheon for you, you hand in your hard hat, and you can have your luncheon. I said, "Fine, hard hat." At the end of the tour, get up to the table, and I went, "Holy, look at the cheeses, look at the meats. Oh, God almighty." So I'm loading up on the first dish of cheese that I've got. I go to the next plate, and this first cheese, I just popped it in my mouth, and the guy behind the counter, a woman and a man, they were looking at each other going, and I said, "I don't know what's up there, but hey," I ate another one. The softest cheese I ever had. Most beautiful thing you've ever. Oh, God, it was good. And get back to the place where I'm eating with a bunch of other journalists and everything. And what I had been eating was pads of butter. Jesus H. And I found out that because the lady came over and said, "Not good for the arteries, butter."
I did something similar one time when we were at the Banff Springs Hotel that time that we all went out there. A bunch of the boys went out, Mike Sinnell and you and me and Mark Kelly and a couple others. And we were in the dining room, and the lights were down in the dining room, and I thought that I was picking up a small little potato, like a little tater tot size thing, and popped it in my mouth and started to chew it. Fucking garlic, what do you call it? A garlic chive? A fucking
clove?
Yeah, garlic clove. Yeah, and I'm fucking Jesus Murphy. What is
you
that?
must have been dribbling.
Potatoes.
Christ, that was awful. We got to do UPS store before we go, Tara.
Yeah, my friends at the UPS store. I'm a fan of the UPS. UPS is a very big company, of course, but my friend David Drucker, who is chief cook and bottle washer of UPS Canada and the UPS stores across the country. Runs it in a fashion that is a family business, because each of the stores across the country, the UPS stores, are individually owned.
Locally owned, locally run.
Yeah, by a local entrepreneur whose business is to look after your business. So if you need to pack, to ship, to fax, to print, to do labels, to do anything that has to do with a small business you may be running from home, or as I've said in the past, if you've got to get something at Uncle George, who lives in Victoria, and you need it to get there quickly, they can handle that too.
Even if you need just to send him a note saying, George, for Christ's sake, don't move to Edmonton. Stay right where you are. I heard Murr on the podcast.
It's too cold. They'll look after all of it for you. When I moved out to British Columbia after the moving trucks were gone, we were stuck with a few things that needed boxes and packing, and went to the UPS store, and they have all of it there. They boxed it, they packed it, they shipped it. Everything got there in one piece, and that's the way the UPS store can help your business. And they're easy to find. They're in over 300 cities across the country, from coast to coast to coast. It's the UPS store.
UPSStoreCanada.ca.
I always get that wrong. Thank you, Ted. Well, is it the old clock on the wall?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Murray,
that was fun, Murr.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming in.
I can't thank you enough, Murr, for giving up. We're recording this on a Sunday. That's very, very kind, and you came a long way. So
Even brought his good-looking daughter, too.
Appreciate that.
He's God, Ted.
You guys, you're
His daughter, Megan, is a country song waiting to happen. She's a beautiful blonde who drives a pickup truck. Is that
sir.
not a country song
I
waiting to happen?
think so.
Yeah.
You get to writing that
Oh,
there,
boy,
Ted.
yeah.
He's written it many times.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
How many kids do you have, Murr?
3.
3 kids.
And
How many
5
grandkids?
grandchildren.
5 grandchildren. Look at that.
Grandchildren.
Well,
Wow.
I got a 19-year-old grandchild.
What do they call you, Murray? They call you Papa, Grandpa, Grampy, what?
Grandpa, and hi, Grandpa, and there's another name.
That you don't want to share with us?
No.
Okay.
I forget. You get old, you forget.
Anyway, I got
man.
my grandson, pardon me, out in St. John's, Newfoundland, nearby.
Yeah.
19 years old.
Wow.
Going to university.
How the hell do you have a 19-year-old grandson? What's going on there?
I started having sex when I was a child.
Wow. Is that how that worked?
Yeah.
Yeah, Murray, thank you very, very much. And as I said, best regards from my wife, Jess.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for sharing your time and telling the stories and having the laughs.
Thank you, Terry. I'm
Great
so glad
stuff.
you're back in Montreal.
Thank
That is
you very
the best
much.
thing that's happened to broadcasting in this city in a long time. You and Ted back together.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thank you.
And I curse on you who split them up in the first place. I'll say that till my dying day, girls.
Yeah, not going to let that go,
No, sir. You know?
Murray Sherriffs, our special guest on the podcast.
Standing By, the Terry and Ted podcast, is sponsored by Jaguar Land Rover Laval, where the luxury is unmistakably British. But nobody wears a top hat or a monocle.